Going to read more from The Great Adventures of Angelica Cherry for Quercus, Minora, and the 8 Elemental Stones, Book 1. Picking up from where we last started, right here, going to the next page. Not where we last started, where we last ended, yes. Okay, so where are we? Dylan addressed Angelica. I trust that he has told you all about the Fulgur Stone that we have in our possession. Angelica nodded. He pivoted towards the staircase behind him, beckoning for them to follow. We don't have a flying ship or anything like that, but the stone provides power for the elevators and many other devices installed in the upper reaches of the tree. It also generates barriers that block entryways to the village from unwanted visitors. I'll take you to see it now. They went up a long flight of winding stairs, which led into another large hall that, sure enough, had a Fulgur Stone in the center. It was surrounded by an electrical field and by pillars encrusted with luminor. Other than that, it seemed very similar in size and shape to the one Angelica had seen on the ship. I've heard that Fulgur Stones are hard to obtain, commented Angelica, yet I've seen 2 of them today, so I feel somewhat lucky. It's not luck that brings the apparent coincidence. The reason Vega has one is that Captain Vega looked embarrassed, so Dylan trailed off. I'll tell you later, he whispered. Hold on. Got an ant climbing on my shoulder. Okay. While everyone has been busy talking, Marcus Finnegan was staring down an illuminated passageway that led to the woods. He asked, "Is that where the luminor is brought in from?" Dylan confirmed this by saying, "Yes, good sir. For a long while now, the source where luminor is easiest to gather is growing in a meadow in that direction. Angelica, you seem interested in the stones. Would you like to get a luminor of your own from the forest?" Angelica responded, "After hearing so much about them, I think I would like to gather one of each of the stones as one of the main objectives of my journey through our motherland of Quercus, Minora. In fact, I think it would be foolish for me to leave without one of each of them when they're all found here." Dylan fell into a deep thought for a moment. "It's too dangerous," he said. "Luminor I could help you obtain, but unless I were to stay along with you, there would be little hope of obtaining the others." "Then go with her, friend," retorted Vega. "I am the chief of the village," Dylan replied. "In my absence there would be trouble, though I dare say it is very tempting. I would love to offer my help." Judging by the young chief's restlessness, Vega could tell that he'd do anything to come along. "Call together the village's elders. They'll figure something out," he said. So Dylan and Vega gathered those who seemed most affected by the decision they wanted to have. Among the invited were the most capable of the villagers, and the closest of the captain's men and Angelica's guard. Gathering in a spacious auditorium with a table fit to seat 40 guests, they conversed for hours on end about what ought to happen. Without Dylan, there would be need for leadership and protection of the village. Fortunately, there were some who were eager to prove their worth, and the barrier the Fulgur Stone provided could also give much protection. Finally, it was decided that Dylan would travel together with Angelica for as long as she needed him, even if it meant for her entire journey. She insisted her guards help staff the airship, which would wait for them to enter the eastern edge of the forest. That night, on the 4th level of the village, in another great hall, a grand ball was held as a welcoming gift to the princess. Dylan walked boldly up to Angelica and took her hand. Bowing, he said, "Beautiful princess, would you do me the honor of dancing with me?" She smiled and said, "It would be my greatest pleasure to dance with such a handsome squirrel as you." A beautiful melody filled the hall, coming from a box in the corner of the room. Angelica had never heard of music that played spontaneously, with no player or instruments present, so the new concept dazed her for a moment. But Dylan quickly led her into a rhythmic dance. They twirled all the way around the ballroom, and the music slowed down, and so did their dancing. The music grew slower still, and they drew nearer to each other. They came so near that their faces almost touched. Angelica was thinking to herself that she must be in a dream, and her heart was pounding. But suddenly, Captain Vega tossed his heavy-set partner up into the air and spun her around effortlessly. Angelica and Dylan both almost fell over giggling, and Dylan spun her away. They quickly composed themselves, but Angelica was happy to share the moment with him. She would cherish this moment for the rest of her life because it was the first time she had danced for a purpose other than practice, and Dylan's village had held the ball in her honor. Also, he was a marvelous dancer, and it was exciting just to try to keep up with him. "That was close," Dylan whispered to Angelica, once they had twirled far enough from the captain to avoid him overhearing them. The smile on her face momentarily turned into a grin. Soon after that, the ball ended, and Angelica beckoned her to follow, and Dylan beckoned her to follow him. "Thank you for the wonderful night," Angelica said as he led her up the stairwell leading up from the ballroom's north end. "I enjoyed dancing with you more than I can express," Dylan replied. "No, thank you for dancing with me. It is I who had the pleasure of dancing with someone wonderful. I should show you a place where you can get some rest. There are many things that we need to do tomorrow. Right now, we are on the way to my mother's bedroom," he told her. "The best view in the village of the stars and Sarzana is visible from there at night. She passed away some time ago, but she would have liked for you to use her bed." Several staircases and corridors later, Dylan opened a door that took them into an elegant sitting room, with Luminor embedded in several locations.